Welcome back, everybody, to the Words from the Nerds podcast. I am one of your co hosts, Ben, joined again by Aiden and Charlie. We are a little late this week because there was a huge trailer drop, probably one of the most anticipated trailers for one of the most anticipated movies coming out next year with James Gunn's Superman film. We'll be touching on that in just a minute. We're also going to cover some news as well as the weekly episode coverage for Creature Commandos. But before we get into it, a couple of housekeeping items. If you're listening to us on just an audio listening platform such as Spotify or Apple Music, make sure you give us a little 5-star rating. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to hit that like button, leave a comment, join in on the discussion. And you can also send us a direct personalized text message. I believe that is exclusive right now to the audio platforms, but it literally sends us a direct message and we will read it on next episode. We have been pushing this for a while, still waiting on that first one. Aiden, are you pulling that up to double check
Yeah, I
to
mean,
double check that?
same old over here.
When it happens, it'll be a big moment for us. So it looks like that might be 2025. But anyways, hopping right into these fine young gentlemen, just seeing how they're doing. Let's start off with Mr. Aiden H. Talks. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fabulous, man. Close to the holidays. Technically the end of the work week for me. So yeah, can't be better. Got a brand new trailer I'm ready to talk about. And lots of wonderful news. I feel like all these studios were like, oh, they just finished last week's episode? All right, it's time to give them everything to talk about. Let's just drop it all now. And so we have a lot, and I'm ready to get into it.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy, even just like the last few weeks in general. I feel like have been huge for news and updates and whatnot. The end of this year has just been kind of crazy, but it makes sense because we're heading into 2025, which, as we've talked about many times, is just a huge year for film and TV shows and whatnot. So getting all of these updates, just, it lines up. Mr. Charles, Mr. Cubson, how are you doing today, sir?
It's a wonderful night. It's a wonderful day. Beautiful day. I No, I won't say that. I'll save that. Um, I'm doing good though, a trailer that we have all been talking about for a while has finally dropped, and we're about to obviously go over that. And so that alone made it a pretty interesting day. Um, but beyond that, everything is dandy. Life's good. Life's grand. This is the last time we're gonna see you guys, talk to you guys before Christmas. So happy Merry Christmas if you celebrate. If not, then happy holidays. But I'm Gucci.
Man, a few
Yeah,
words.
man, a few words, but they carry just such weight. Carry such weight.
Wow, we're starting the dick riding early today, Chad. It's
Oh,
crazy.
wow.
No, I didn't even think about the fact that Christmas is in like less than a week. I feel like it's just kind of sprung up. I just haven't felt like I've been in the Christmas mood.
Hey,
Have you guys been in the same boat, or are you feeling the Christmas spirit a little more?
I'm feeling
Somewhat.
the
Nah,
spirit of
it's my,
giving
my turn, my turn,
myself.
my turn. My turn,
Really?
Charles.
That's interesting.
I'm
That's not
not
very Christmassy of you.
I'm not in the spirit of giving my talk to a time to Charlie. Um,
Bro.
I've been in the spirit. I'm more so just excited to watch the holdovers. Start the annual Christmas movie with me and my fiance while making some cookies and putting up the tree. Have y'all watched holdovers? The holdovers?
No,
It
I haven't, but
was
I know what you're talking about.
it was literally one of my favorite movies last year. I think it was even like my number three or something. One of the one of my favorite movies ever. It's such a great film. And so I'm excited to watch it. This will be the first Christmas that starts that'll start the tradition. So I'm more so just excited for that.
Charles,
Willow,
you were gonna
take
weigh
her
in.
fade.
Sorry, I didn't know if this guy was done yapping. You know, he kind of talks a while, but yeah, man. I'm excited. You know, I've since, like, as a child, which I think a lot of us are like this as a child. Like, we love receiving the gifts and whatnot, and we love wondering what our presents are gonna be. But I every year now I'm very excited to, and I think I mentioned this to you guys in past weeks. The fact that, like, I'm very excited to give gifts to people, and my girlfriend being one of them, and so much so that I can't, like, wait a lot of the time until Christmas to do that, and I kind of rush it along. So I'm almost like too excited for Christmas to the point where I don't even wait for Christmas. But yeah, I wouldn't say, like, I don't know, the same old feeling as like when you're a child is not there anymore, but it's different. It's changed, but it's still good, you know? So, yeah, I'd say I'm
Yeah.
feeling it.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody when they grow up, you lose the magic of it a little bit in the excitement of Christmas morning,
But then you go to
especially like
Disneyland and you get it back. That's all I gotta say. That's all I
okay.
gotta say. You go to
Okay.
Disneyland, you're standing on Main Street, bro, and they got the Christmas music playing, and they got the fake snow falling down. Oh my god, man. Oh
I
my
wouldn't know,
god.
like maybe you should have like invited us or something.
Oh, wow. I didn't know you guys existed back when I experienced that. Okay.
Anyways, one of the best presents so far that we have gotten for Christmas was this morning from Mr. James Gunn himself. He has blessed the entire world with a teaser trailer for Superman, which people weren't exactly sure when this was going to be dropping. There was rumors that it would be in December, but then it was questionable if that was actually true or not. And then we knew by the start of this week that it was definitely happening. We even got a teaser leading up to the teaser, and this morning we finally got it. Um, so I think I'm gonna let Charlie go first. Charlie, you should go first, giving some of your thoughts on the teaser trailer, because I think when I asked you how you were doing, you were maybe gonna jump into that a little early. So take it away. Go ahead.
I was going to jump into that a little early. But first, before I talk about it, do we want to watch it? I have it up if we wanted to watch it.
Let's do
I
it.
know we've all already seen it, but
I have seen it
Okay.
a number of times, but I would
I
love to see it again.
I have as well. I have as well.
Say
But
less.
yeah. What's one more time, you know? You guys all in?
Yes, sir.
Let me turn it up here.
Crypto. Home. Take me home.
Superman.
Oh my gosh, man. Oh my gosh. That is that's how you do a damn trailer, dude. I what I was going to say when you asked me how I was doing today. I cried today. That's how I was doing today. I teared up today at this damn trailer, man. Like I became a fan of Superman when I was in middle school. I watched Smallville for the first time and fell in love with the character. Um, ever since then, and obviously it was hard to watch Man of Steel and I would say to a lesser extent Justice League, at least the latter half of it, because I will say for as much as that movie does bad, it does a decent job at trying to redeem Superman there for a little bit, but and like Batman v Superman, that kind of thing, obviously. But that was hard. And so now to see us getting here, man, us getting to see him, something as small as just running in the way to save that little girl from the smashing rubble. That's probably my favorite shot in the whole trailer. One of. Um and it's just James Gunn has talked about it a lot, obviously, in the marketing for the movie. Just the reason for this movie existing in the current state of the world and whatnot. And I think he's right. He nails it. Like we're in a place where like a lot of people need like that hopeful energy rather than like the at each other's throats kind of energy that we have all the time online, especially. And this version of Superman coming in, I don't know. It's an interesting way to start the trailer. Him getting his ass beat. To kind of have that sort of messaging. But I think the rest of the trailer does a perfect job at showing us where this Superman is going to be in his life, watching the crowd hate him and he just takes the brunt of that. And I don't know, man. Like it's all of it is so, and I know a lot of people have been talking shit about like how Guy Gardner looks and what, and the Justice League or I guess the Justice Society maybe. But I truly like my focus here is on Superman and everything that he does, and David Cornswood, obviously, Nicholas Hoult, and Rachel Brosnahan. Oh my God, I cannot wait to see what they all do with this, and I don't know, I'm gushing about it, man, because I'm so excited to hopefully have the I don't want to say iconic, but I don't know, just the Superman that I've always envisioned in film in my lifetime. Because I can't say that the Christopher Reeve films were that for me because obviously those came out well before my time. But I don't know, man. This is super exciting. This is all I could have asked for. People said that he needed to nail this trailer, and still he needs to nail this movie, which they're right. They're 100% right. But I think as far as the first step goes, nailing the trailer, I think he did that. I think he 1000% did that.
I'll go next. Um, I think you touched on a really important part for me, which is the franchise that I grew up with, superhero wise, was like a little bit of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, but mostly the MCU. Like that's when my love for film and superhero movies specifically started to grow, was through that franchise. I haven't even I don't think I've seen a single one of the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. I'm not gonna lie. And
Same.
my experience for Superman in film is Henry Cavill. And to be honest, I really like Henry Cavill as Superman. I think most people do. But you're right that like it's not that portrayal of Superman is not to the full extent that you would want from such a deep philosophical character. Just the principles of Superman weren't fully present in Henry Cavill's Superman, not because Henry Cavill was bad, but mainly just because of, I would say, Zack Snyder and how he likes to do his films and his tone and whatnot, which is kind of like that's a more grand point. But the point I'm trying to get at is watching this trailer and feeling that sense of hope and that sense of wonder and just that like inspiration that I get just by watching this trailer, by hearing that music and knowing that like I still have a chance to have an iconic portrayal of Superman in my lifetime while I'm a fan of comic book movies. That is like very exciting for me. And I think that will do a lot for me moving forward because like I put a lot of my stock into the MCU. I've talked about it before that like even the X-Men movies, I haven't seen all of them and only watched through like some of them in the last year or so. So the MCU has really just been like my superhero franchise, and it doesn't feel like that anymore. And so the idea that, a film like this could come along and could just draw me in a way that I haven't been drawn in a while is exciting. But anyways, that's more like big picture stuff. More specifically about the trailer, the only critique that I really have for it is it does seem like there is going to be a lot that is covered in this film. There's a lot of different elements, and I can kind of see both sides of it, of people being a little worried that James Gunn isn't going to be able to hone it in and focus in on what matters. But then the other side of it is his track record with his other projects is films with large main casts of characters where you have literally like groups of, 5 characters or sometimes even more with like the Suicide Squad. And we know that he can strike that balance, and he can make it work. He can have it focus in on the things that we care about, even while including all of this craziness that doesn't seem like it would all fit and flow together. So I can see both sides of that. I think that's still my biggest hesitation is like I want to make sure that they focus in on the side of this trailer that everyone really loves, which is that side of specifically with Superman and the hope and the wonder of all of that. I hope that that's what this film really focuses on. Otherwise, yeah, I really love this trailer. I think it's great. And I didn't really know what to expect, but just so many things about it. Even just like a notable thing would be David Cornsweet as Clark Kent. Phenomenal. Like
Yeah.
everybody's always clowned on like the Clark Kent disguise. In this trailer, I would understand. Like they actually I think can sell it based on his mannerisms, his hairstyle, and the glasses. Like I think it works. But I'm excited to see that kind of the duality between Clark Kent, the reporter who's a little socially awkward and whatnot, versus, the heroic alien of Superman and whatnot. So just so many things that I'm looking forward to and excited about with this movie. And yeah, this trailer just reaffirms what I've been saying for a long time, which is that anyone who doesn't have faith in James Gunn that he can pull this off is just ignoring just the reputation that James has built specifically in the superhero genre. Like just look at his track record and you should know that he can do this. It doesn't mean that it's guaranteed, but just look at his track record. You should have more faith in somebody who has put in the work time and time again. So,
Speaking of, sorry to interrupt, but speaking of his track record, I just watched movie 43. Don't watch it. Terrible movie.
why would you do that to yourself?
But James Gunn directed the final skit in that movie, and it has like an animated cat, and I was like, yo, James Gunn, like with animals in his movies, bro. Like, and I started to think like Scooby Doo, which granted he didn't direct those, but still he worked on them, and so I think he was a writer or something for the Scooby Doo movies, or maybe just Scooby Doo 2. I don't know. Either way, Scooby Doo. And then ever since movie 43, every single project that he's been a part of has some sort of like CGI animal or something, and I just think that that's kind of funny. But sorry to interrupt you, Benji.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, I think everybody has noticed that. And in the case of this movie, we get Crypto, who looks amazing, and James Gunn has said like there will be some depth and complexity to Crypto as a character. So excited to see how that works. But then also the ginormous fire breathing. I don't even want to say dragon. I don't even know what it would be considered. Just the giant
Some
monster that's
monster.
yeah, wreaking havoc. But he loves to do that and it works. Also the like giant eye, or maybe that's a ship of some kind towards the end of the trailer. We can talk about that a little bit later. But anyways, I'll leave it at that. I love the trailer. Very excited. And full faith in James Gunn.
How do I go about saying this? It
Okay,
was
you
absolutely
can
phenomenal,
cut
baby.
the
Come
bit.
on. I mean, come
Okay.
on. It was absolutely phenomenal. It was great. I mean, this is everything I want out of the character of Superman. And even down to, which I know has been talk of the town this week, even down to the color grading, which in teaser trailer, I was like, okay, I won't judge this until I see the official trailer come out. I won't judge it off this like 20-30 second teaser that they dropped the day before. But there were some shots where I was like, okay, this looks a little bit odd. And it wasn't because, and I saw all the people jump in the gun, no pun intended, saying, oh, we've gotten so, Snyder has messed up Superman so much that people freak out when there's a little bit of color in the movie. And that's not the point at all. Like, do I agree with that in terms of the character of Superman? A little bit, yes. But that wasn't I just genuinely didn't think the color grading looked that great. It looked like Black Adam at some points. It looked like I tweeted back at Brandon after this because I had just seen episode 1 of season 3 of Shameless. They use almost the same color grading for Mexico, which I had never seen. Anytime we think of Mexico being portrayed in media, it's the orange tint. But they used a different one in Shameless, and then it looked almost exactly like the one in the Superman trailer. So I was like, that's a little odd. But in this trailer, it looks phenomenal. I mean, it's just popping everywhere that it needs to pop. It's the embodiment of the hopeful, heroic hero that is Superman, which I think was obviously missing in Zack Snyder's movies. Even whenever he brings down the semi truck as an fu to the guy that he was trying to intimidate. It's like I want this Superman to be different than Henry Cavill's, and everything of what Ben just said, where it wasn't Henry Cavill. It's just the way that his character of Superman was being portrayed. So one thing I wanted from this one was to take on like that all-star Superman from the comics and paint him in a completely different light than what he's been painted as in the Zack Snyder movies, because I also have not watched the Christopher Reeves movies. And so this had everything that I could have ever hoped for. And in my video, I even say I'm a little bit cautious on, like, we see a lot of characters in this, and I do just hope that James Gunn finds a way to juggle it nicely to where we can focus on Superman and Clark Kent the most, even with a group of heroes in here, which I was looking at his IMDb, and I haven't watched movie 43. I probably won't after what y'all just said, but every movie after that has been every movie or project has been a movie or project with multiple characters following, like like Peacemaker, he singles in on Peacemaker, but then you also tell those stories of the other casts of characters in there. This is his first like big screen project where it is just one title character. And obviously we see like the other, I mean, that he's directed. But obviously we see the other characters in here, so it's hard not to jump to that and worry a bit. And so I do still have full faith in him. And Ben, I know that's exactly what you were saying. But it will be interesting to see how he goes about the cast of characters. Regardless, though, I'm so excited. Nathan Fillion's what was his name? Guy Gardner. His
Guy Gardner.
his Green Lantern. I saw a lot of people saying he looks goofy like that in the comics, and so I don't know. Like I love Nathan.
Goofy.
I love Nathan Fillion, and so I'm like, yeah, go for it, dude. Like I'm all for this. Isabella Merced, our Dina. Like what more is there to say about her? And so there are still a lot of things to like about this cast of characters that are also sharing the screen with David Cornsweet. But I'm interested to see just an official trailer. First of all, I'm excited to see an official trailer to get to know more about this plot and the story they're telling, but also to see how all of it's juggled. But yeah, I think it's phenomenal. I was literally giddy the whole time. There was even a moment where I was screaming, "Look at this! Look at," when he jumps in front of the girl and saves her. I was like, "Look at this, dude! This is phenomenal." And so I was over the moon excited for this. I also love Lex Luthor in this. Like every scene that we see of him, he's filled with rage. And I even love that quick shot where Superman flies by and he just turns around pissed off and starts walking. Like everything about Superman pisses this dude off, and I absolutely love that. And so yeah, there's a lot of things that I'm looking forward to in this. I don't think I have any worries. Again, James Gunn is going to do his thing on this. I hope this is a huge success for DC so that we can continue this universe. And so that David Cornsweet can kind of slowly but surely tune out the Snyder fans and realize just how much hope he's given us taking the role of Superman. Absolutely phenomenal. I love it so much. Yeah, I have zero complaints. What a great trailer.
The Snyder fans are in full effect. I don't know if you guys decided
yeah.
to open up any of the comment sections on Twitter from what James Gunn posted with the trailer, or even just like discussing film or anything. But instantly you would see comments flooding in, talking about the comparison, talking about how the movie is already garbage. Like the Snyder heads were in full effect immediately upon the trailer's release. And I don't think that's going to end at any point. I think there's still people who somehow in their brain they're convinced that Zack Snyder should be the one who's in charge of everything that happens at DC, which is insane.
Could you imagine?
But yeah, I know. I saw a lot of comments today. I kept on going back to it, just like different comment sections and it's crazy because like those comments get so many likes and so many interactions, and it's just, I don't know how much of it is just rage baiting for engagement purposes or how much of, I think some of it's real, but it's hard to tell with like just how much there was on so many of the different comment sections. So they're already in full force.
It's not going to go away. And I want this movie to be so good that they sit in the theater and they're like, oh, damn, that shit was fire, bro. Like, oh, now I can't get on Twitter and type all day long. I hope this movie is that good that it changes their minds.
We just need Zack Snyder to come out and say that he loves the trailer and it looks amazing. And then see what happens then, Maybe they'll follow suit and, bow down to their Lord and Savior. But I mean, like that's what they do anyway. So it's just, it's crazy. One of the other things I wanted to touch on is James Gunn has also revealed some other details just about the movie in general throughout this week. I don't know if there was like some sort of Q&A or something, but the press got a hold of different information regarding the film. So I'm not remembering everything that was reported, But one of them was he said that for the action scenes within the movie, they filmed them using drones and that they took inspiration from the action scenes in Top Gun Maverick, which like when I heard that,
Yeah.
I I I would not have pieced that together to be like Superman flying. Let's take inspiration from a movie about, fighter pilots and jets. I wouldn't have put those two together, but hearing them put together, it totally makes sense. And like that's exciting to me because I love Top Gun Maverick and, if it's going to translate how I envision it translating, I think that's a great choice. A great choice to pull inspiration from that and bring it in for the action scenes. So I'm excited for that. And hopefully in a next trailer we might get a little bit more of a glimpse of what that could look like.
It's just like, dude, everything that comes out about this movie just seems to keep getting better. Like it's so promising. It is so promising. It's so exciting. Like I just really hope that this goes great. I hope it hits a Billy, which it probably will, because it's Superman. Uh, but
It will. Aiden, bet on it. Bet on the
oh,
over
a
ability.
1,000% box office for Superman, dude. The Rotten Tomatoes score, which would be a scary one because of the Snyder fans, but
Yeah.
something to take into account. Always bet responsibly and smartly. Yeah, everything that comes out about this film, it continues to blow me away. Fantastic Four, you have some problems on your hand if you're looking to win the month of July. Let's just say that it's going to be tough. So, but we'll talk about that later.
The other thing that I just remembered that got revealed for this movie is James Gunn specifically said that this film was not meant to be a launching point for more films that are coming up in the DC universe, which kind of ties into a discussion that we talked about last week, which is that they're treating each individual project as its own thing, giving it its own treatment and not kind of how they all connect to one another, which to me, this is a great thing because of what we've just been talking about with like, what if there's too much happening in the movie? Well, the good thing is that everything that's in this movie is specifically for this movie and not just so they can, set up characters and whatnot to use in future projects. That will definitely happen. I think we also got confirmation that Nathan Fillion would be returning as Guy Gardner for the Lanterns TV show. So we knew that there was going to be overlap no matter what, but knowing that they specifically said like we made this movie how we wanted to make this movie and didn't just add anything unnecessary for the future of the universe, that lends itself to say like they're not just overbearing this, they're not just bringing in whatever. They pick and choose what was best for the story and this is what we're going to get. So in that regard, I think we can put a lot of stock in that and hope that it turns out great, which I think we all are expecting that it will.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm out of my mind excited. That's all I've thought about all day. So
Yeah.
I think I gotta stop for a little bit because it's still 7 months away.
Yeah. I watched a lot of trailer reactions for the Superman trailer just to, see people experience it for the first time and just the pure joy that it has given to like everybody. Um, I almost want to find a trailer reaction from like a Snyder fan who's gonna sit there and be like, "Oh my God, the color grading, bro, this looks terrible." Like I want to see if that's out there on the internet somewhere. Anyways, unless somebody has any final thoughts on the trailer, we can move on to some other DC related news. So last week we talked about the Clayface movie that was confirmed to be greenlit after a script was finished by Mike Flanagan. And now that has just seemingly progressed insanely fast. It has a confirmed release date of September 11th, 2026. It is described as a horror tragedy with the character not being painted as a villain, also described as DC's version of The Fly. And I think one of the other things with this news was that they are still looking for a director, but that they're planning on starting filming pretty early next year, like spring of next year. So they really are fast tracking this project, which I think we touched on this quite a bit last week with just how they're approaching these projects, where if they have a story that they like, that they're just going to move forward with it. Which I was a big defender of that approach and kind of like how they're doing it. I will say this does feel very fast just to be like greenlight script, give it a release date, find a director, but we're shooting in spring. Like you do need to take a little bit of time to make sure that all of the pieces fall into place how they need to. Um, but anyways, I'm getting kind of ahead of myself. So, Charlie, would you like to share any thoughts on the Clayface movie?
It's interesting to me just because, and granted, not every project has to do this, but not choosing not to frame them as a villain. I guess like it comes with the territory of being a horror tragedy. Like this is clearly going to be something that happened to the main character of Clayface, and he just has to deal with the fallout of that, the consequences of that, and I guess just oh man, I was gonna make a reference, but you guys have not watched the newest episode of Creature Commando, so I can't do that. Um, but I imagine he's gonna have to deal with what happens to him, and I think that maybe that's where the idea of not painting him as a villain comes in. But like at the end of the day, he is right. He is a Batman villain for whatever purpose he serves. That is the end all be all. And so I don't know. And since it's also confirmed that this isn't in the Reeves universe, this is going to be in James Gunn's. I don't know the choice to have this before a Batman film. I don't know. I don't necessarily love the idea of it, but I can see the appeal. The sentiment on Twitter seems to be like this is a cool idea to set up Batman's universe before actually showing Batman. But I don't know if I'm fully into that sort of idea. I'd like to see how this Batman operates in his universe before I see the wider universe. I don't know, but who knows? I think I'm still interested in seeing it. Of course, I plan to be there day one, um, and yeah, I hope that they can continue their streak so far of good villain centered projects with Clayface here. But my hopes are not too high, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still just kind of in the same camp as last week, where I think this is really cool. I think a horror tragedy Clayface movie is super sick. I'm just still kind of like tilting my head at it a little bit, just waiting to see. I'm not completely counting it out. I am still excited for it, just as Charlie said, and I think to see the atmosphere of Gotham in the DCU, because we already know what it looks like in Matt Reeves' universe, but to get it in the DCU is probably the thing I'm most excited for with this. But I mean, yeah. At the same time, you're painting Gotham before you're even showing us the Batman who runs that Gotham. Which things can change. A lot can happen between now and September 11th, 2026. Lots of news can happen. Lots of stuff can come out. So again, that's why I'm just like I'm not completely writing it off. I'm not completely upset with it. I'm all for it. I am 1,000% all for it. And yeah, after everything we looked at last week with Mike Flanagan and the news we've gotten about how confident they are in the movie, that's first and foremost. They are very confident in this. We see it being fast tracked big time this week. So if they see something in it, I will put my pride aside and put some stocks in it. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah, buddy.
one of the things that I wanted to share, kind of a perspective on it, is like I've said before that if the MCU just got back to making sure that each individual project was the best that it could be, I think a lot of people would view the franchise as a whole in a much better light. I think that people care less about how connected the films are as much as they care about the quality of each project and the consistency of that. And so with the DC universe, now we're kind of experiencing an opposite approach where they are going for quality first and connectivity second. And so at least for me, I'm having like a reality check of like this is exactly the kind of approach that I want from Marvel, where they would stop, just having all these post-credit scenes and setting up these big things that never lead to anything, and I just want them to focus on making good projects. DC looks like they're taking that approach of quality first, and then they'll figure out other stuff later and how it's gonna work. Bringing these characters together and whatnot. So I'm trying to check myself and be like, this is the approach that I wish that Marvel had currently. So I'm going to embrace it as much as possible for DC. So I think we talked about it plenty last week, just with, their confidence and how we'll just have to wait and see. But I am looking forward to it, but that's just because right now, with this, brand new universe, I'll look forward to basically anything that they announce and release for it. So,
Yeah.
alongside of the Clayface movie, we also had the announcement, which I feel like this might have been announced with the original slate, but we just have confirmation that this is happening and a release date for the Dynamic Duo movie, which will release on June 30th, 2028, which is an animated coming of age film following Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, which I know last week we touched on release dates for when some of the DC Universe films were coming out and how although we have a ton announced, most of them don't have release dates at this point. So it feels a little weird that we're getting this announcement for 2028 when I feel like we barely have anything for 2026 or 2027 at this point. Um, so crazy that we're getting a release date confirmed for a movie that's not coming out for 3.5 years. I don't really have much else to add to this personally. I don't know much about these characters or even the nature of. I don't know if dynamic duo is like something specific in the comics that happens or what storyline they're following. So I feel like this might be more of Charlie's wheelhouse, having knowledge on the backstory behind what this animated movie could be about.
Truthfully, I don't have the biggest on the Batman side of comics anyway. I'm not the most knowledgeable person, but as far as I know, I don't think Dick and Jason had a comic called the Dynamic Duo together, but I could absolutely be wrong. I guess I mean I'm in agreement with you for sure about the announcement of this for 2028. It seems like a weird thing to prioritize announcing that when I'm trying to find it here, but I'm pretty sure I just saw that discussing films had posted that when does Supergirl come out? 2026.
Yeah.
They're releasing two projects within a month of each other, and Supergirl is the second one, and then there's an untitled project for a month before it. Right now, there's an untitled date, but they have the date scheduled to put something up. So I don't know what that'll end up being. I know last episode we talked about, or maybe it was 2 episodes ago now. We talked about James Gunn when he announced the DC slate and what the potential what was it called? The Authority, that movie. There was no hard date for that when he announced the slate, but that could be something that's potentially lined up there. But yeah, that's an interesting choice to me to be talking about things, giving them names years and years, 4 years down the line right now. I guess 3.5. but then for something like that 2026 date before Supergirl, we have no idea what it is at all. So I'm still super excited for it. Maybe a little bit of a hot take, I guess, also with saying that I am not the biggest, most knowledgeable person when it comes to the Batman side of comics, but my favorite Robin is not Dick and it's not Jason. It's God, why am I forgetting his name, dude? See, this is why I don't. This is why I don't even. I don't know anything about Batman comics, and I'm talking about my favorite Robin, and I don't even know his name. But he was in the most recent video game, Gotham Knights, which was not a good game. Don't get me wrong, but I know a lot of people don't like this Gotham or this Robin.
Tim Drake.
Tim Drake. Thank you so much, Benji.
I got you.
A lot of people don't like Tim as their favorite for whatever reason. People who are more knowledgeable about Batman comics than me, and maybe if I became more knowledgeable, I would agree with them. But I don't know. I just think with Dick growing up and going off on his own to be Nightwing and be his own hero and everything, and then Jason as well, to a certain degree, more like I guess the Punisher, closer to the Punisher. I believe Red Hood kills all of his bad guys. I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't know anything about anything. But either way, I'd be interested to see, because is there a hard date? We might have talked about this. Is there a hard date for The Brave and the Bold? Do we know that?
No. I was just
No?
looking at their film slate. There is nothing right now past 2026, and The Authority, Brave and the Bold, and Swamp Thing, which are supposed to be a part of this first chapter, none of those currently have release dates.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, here, I found it. Untitled DC film scheduled for May 29th, 2026, and then Supergirl is scheduled for June 26th, 2026. So we don't know what that project's going to be. It could, and it's labeled as a film, so it's not going to be that Amanda Waller show we were talking about.
I think that comes
kind
out
of
like
thing.
next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'd like to find out what that is, I guess, before finding out more about this dynamic duo thing. But I do think it'll be cool to see Dick and Jason together running things in Gotham for as well as they can. Also interesting that it's going to be released in theaters too. So I hope that it's, has the same like level of quality that we look to like the Spider-Verse films having now. Not that they need to match that animation style, but just having its own unique aesthetic, I think would be cool as well. However you can do that, but yeah, exciting stuff, I guess.
Aiden,
but-
before you share your thoughts, I wanted to add with this announcement, do you think that there's a possibility that this means we're getting The Brave and the Bold ahead of the release of this animated film? Because we know, like, even though it's an animated film, that they're going to probably use the same voice actor that they use for the live action Dick Grayson. So yeah, do you think that means that we'll see The Brave and the Bold before that movie? And also just your thoughts.
I would hope so.
I want to go first. I want to go first because it was my turn before it was yours. Thanks. I personally, I do think that we will get Brave and the Bold first because that's going to have a Robin in it. And I believe it's going to be Damian. They said that. I'm pretty sure. And so just to see the different dynamics between the Robins, I think early on, and also you can have an appearance, as you were mentioning, from Dick and from Jason in that live action Brave and the Bold movie, just to get an idea of where their characters are at. And also, I just think that, I mean, obviously we talked about last week how they don't greenlight projects unless there's a script fully written out and approved for that project. So with that being said, I don't believe that there's a director attached to the dynamic duo right now. Brave and the Bold has Andy Muschietti of Flash fame. Of Flash fame. But either way, they have a director, and and obviously they have a script written. Otherwise, they wouldn't have greenlit it. So I do think we're going to see that first, and I want to see that first, truthfully, because this is why because I want to see the Batman that shaped those Robins. I feel like that's crucial, actually. I need to see the Batman that shaped those Robins to be the way that they are before I just instantly see Dick and the first Robin and the second Robin doing things together. Like, I want to see that Batman and maybe how he treats Damian and how he's changed how he treats Damian compared to how he treated Dick and Jason and them. You know, so I think it's crucial that Brave and the Bold actually comes out before that, and I would want that to be the case. But
That's actually a really good point. Yeah, I mean, especially if considering this will be canon to the DCU, I will want to see a Brave and the Bold movie before getting that solely to see what this Batman did to Jason Todd and Dick Grayson. Look, the only Robin anything that I have experience with is the Arkham games, with everything that happened with Jason Todd. That's the only Robin stuff I have. So, but this sounds sick. I mean, it sounds really cool. A coming of age animated film about Dick Grayson and Jason Todd. I think that has a lot of potential. It being animated and other plans that we've already talked about, such as movies coming out before it, might be the reason for the super late date. But y'all have already touched on that. So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this. I don't have a ton of experience when it comes to Batman or his Robins in the comics. And so I am just sitting patiently, ready for it to come out and hoping that Andy doesn't obliterate Brave and the Bold like he did to the Flash.
The only other thing I was going to mention is with this whole approach where they don't greenlight projects until there's a script done. I think what probably happened is that there's probably a lot of people who are working on different scripts for upcoming DC films, even ones that have been officially announced. And so there was a dynamic duo script that is, good to go. They're set for that movie so they can lock it in. They're probably expecting to have Brave and the Bold come out and say like 2027, but it's not officially slated because they don't have a script that they can officially greenlight. And so that even though dynamic duo can get greenlit, they're still going to put it, later in the slate, expecting that they will have movies to release in between, but they just don't have finished products for all of those, which again, I think that makes sense given their approach with how they're doing things. They can't fill their slate unless they know for sure. And so we just have all of these there's a Swamp Thing movie from James Mangold that's going to happen at some point, but until there's a script and they're ready to move forward, they're not going to give it a release date. It's just what, it's planned for the future at some point. So I think that's kind of why we're seeing this weird film that's being announced 3.5 years ahead of its release, is because, they are looking years into the future. They're just not putting everything into place all at once. So I think it makes sense.
I really wish Pattinson's Batman was in this universe, man. I would kill to see him and David Corenswet share the screen in a Justice League movie. Would feed families.
yeah, quit crying, bro. It's not gonna happen.
Hey, buddy, watch One Piece and then you can tell me what to do, all right?
Are you... Aiden, how many times,
I have to meet my quota.
Your response is always just like, oh, watch One Piece, come back to me then. You don't know.
Cause his knowledge just isn't. I mean, it's just not there. He can't compete with me until he's walked a mile in my
He
shoes.
just called you stupid. Are you gonna take that?
He's gonna take it like a good boy, and he's gonna sit there and wait for the next topic to come up. All right, that's what he's gonna do.
There are tons of people wrong every single day. He just happens to be wrong every time he speaks. So
Better call Saul. All right. That's what I thought.
All right,
Silence.
moving on from the DC universe to some Marvel news because there was a lot of
Hold on.
Marvel related news.
I wanted to include this because this little stupid boy took it out for some reason. I don't know why he chose this. He thought this thing
Oh,
was
yeah,
something that
yeah.
needed to be taken out.
Forgot about this.
They're talking about the Penguin doing a season 2 of the Penguin.
And that's it.
And I just
And that's it. That's all there is to say. There's a season 2.
That's
Hold
not
on.
it. That is not
Yeah,
it.
hold on. I feel like we can easily talk about why we think that is a good thing or a bad thing and explain why. Like, we can go deeper into that. Obviously, I think we talked about it after we were done watching the show a little bit, but I mean, obviously, I'd love to see more of Oswald, and I don't remember what I said at the end of that show, but now I think I would say that I don't necessarily think it's needed. Truthfully, obviously, I'd love it. I think that Colin Farrell he does a fantastic job as the Penguin. I've said that since the Batman came out, but I mean, it was nice to delve even deeper into his character with this season. But truthfully, I mean, I'd love to dive into. Is that Arkham Asylum show still happening, or did that get shut down?
I
Do you know
thought
about
this
that?
was supposed to be the Arkham Asylum show. Or not that it was supposed to be, but that little throwaway line in episode 2 where she says Arkham's busted wide open and that's why the streets are filled with criminals and that's why she's out was kind of like the hey, this isn't happening anymore, so let's just kind of throw it in here.
Yeah. Okay. Because I was gonna say I'd rather see like different sides of this universe rather than still focusing on the Penguin. I mean, obviously we won't. Here's the mixed bag with that though. I don't think we're gonna have time to talk about the deeper depth of Oswald's mind and whatnot, and where he's at now that his mother has died, and now that he spoilers for Penguin if you guys are here just for the Superman stuff and you're in the middle of watching Penguin, but after his mother died, and after he killed Vic, like I do want to see how just I don't know diabolical he is after that, and just on how much of a different level he's on. I am interested in that. Do not get me wrong. But I also just think we had our time with him, and I think it was a fantastic time. But I would not be disappointed if this was just like a limited series kind of thing, with this character, truthfully. So
I can see the good and the bad with it as well. I think if there were to be a Penguin season 2, it would probably feel a lot different than season 1 did because we're not going to be diving into the backstory of Oswald. We already went through, so much with his brothers and with his mother and whatnot. So if season 2 of Penguin were to happen, I think it would be a much more of a bridge between wherever we're at in the Batman storyline. And yeah, it would probably focus around Oz, but it wouldn't be able to have the same depth and it wouldn't be, I don't think, as character driven into Oz as the first season was, which is why it might feel a little bit silly and pointless. The other thing is that kind of on a more big picture side of things, if they're going to continue with their current track of like a project every 2 or 3 years, and it's literally just going to be like the Batman, the Penguin season 1, the Batman 2, the Penguin season 2, and we have to wait like, you know, 10 years before we're, doing anything else or branching out. It already feels like there's such a long time between projects, between releases, which I'm okay with because these releases have been amazing. But if you're telling me that they're going to prioritize the Penguin season 2 as their one release within like a 3-year period over a Batman Part 3 or any other spin-off series that they could potentially do in the Batman universe, I don't think that that's the best approach personally. So they either need to find a way to be releasing more projects, which is, that's a scary thing to say as well. There's a lot of risks with that. Or I guess the best way to put it is I just want their priorities to be straight. And so if it lines up how they're currently doing it, then I wouldn't be the biggest fan of this news. On top of the fact that I it wouldn't be anything like season 1 because we wouldn't be, learning more about Oz's past and tying that into where he's at. It would feel much more like a current storyline with wherever the Batman universe is. So I'm not inherently opposed to it, but just doesn't feel like the right choice, and it kind of feels like they're considering doing it just because of its success and not because it's actually warranted. I mean, that's obvious because it wasn't announced until, you know, after the show was already finished and there's the public reception to it and some of the awards that it's getting nominated for. So it's pretty obvious that like that is a big reason why they're looking into it in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Agatha.
Well, actually, hold up. Now we can skip what you wanted to say because apparently that's all we got to talk about, right?
Yeah,
It's just the fact that they're
you're muted, so, and I'm recording, so you're not coming through for the episode, buddy. All right. No, it's the same thing that's happening with Agatha. I mean, do we really need an Agatha season 2 over some of these other projects that we're wanting to see? No, not at all. And it's the same thing going on with the Batman. It comes out after the show has a success, which is why I said, I mean, what's there to talk about? Like, yeah, it's coming out after the show's success. I like that they know what they're doing. But granted, you do bring up some good points of like, yeah, we're gonna have to wait 8 years for Batman Part 3 now because of their priorities being on a Penguin Season 2, which most likely won't hold up to how great Season 1 was and how good of an ending we had in Season 1. Now, if you were going with the Arkham Asylum show, or let's say there's a universe where the DCU doesn't take a Clayface away from you, or even a Scarecrow, whatever, any of these other villains that you want to do a spinoff of, or a spinoff of your Robin that you're going to introduce in the future, then cool, fine. I mean, you're trying to get as much out of this universe as you can before James Gunn's universe eventually pops off and becomes the single Batman. The single Batman going on. So from that perspective, yeah, I can see that being a good choice. But for a Penguin sequel, when there's other things you can do, if you're trying to get as much out of this universe as you can before it gets taken over, it just doesn't scream the right choice to me. So
now we can go on to the Marvel stuff.
Yes, sir.
but fix your tone, all right?
Yes, sir, Charlie. Yes, sir.
Never let him make the run of show again, bro. Never let him make it again.
Moving on to Marvel news, there was a ton of little things that were announced. Starting us off, we have I guess, rumor. I don't know if it's like officially confirmed, but I think it's a pretty solid rumor that Haley Atwell will be returning as Peggy Carter in Avengers Doomsday. I'm going to go first because I don't really have too much to say here in terms of this. It kind of goes into what we talked about last week. These things don't really excite me all that much anymore, just hearing that like an actor is coming back in a role. We also know that Doomsday and Secret Wars are going to deal with variants. We're going to see lots of people come back. So this to me is kind of like a nothing announcement. It doesn't really do anything for me. I guess the only slightly interesting thing is the fact that Chris Evans is also supposed to be in the movie. So maybe there's something that they're going to do with that could be interesting. But on its own, her being in the movie is kind of whatever, in my opinion.
So, I saw a screenshot. I haven't watched What If Season 2. I saw a screenshot today of... Have you finished Season 2 of What If, Ben?
No, I think I'm like 5 or 6 episodes in.
Okay. Do you care if I say this? Because I think it's a spoiler.
Go ahead.
I figured you didn't. I figured you didn't. If you care.
I've seen an episode with Agent Carter in it though. So.
Okay. If you care about What If Season 2 spoilers, skip ahead 5 seconds, 10 seconds. It won't be that long. Skip ahead starting now. So her with Hela's crown, some sword, and her shield. And she's just fully decked out in this like mech suit of weapons from other superheroes. What? If I didn't want to watch What If Season 2, I'm definitely not fucking watching it now. What are we doing? And so I saw someone post that screenshot. I wish y'all could have seen my face when I scrolled and I saw that on my screen. I was just like, what am I looking at? And they said, I really hope this Peggy Carter isn't what is going to be in Avengers Doomsday. And whatever. I mean, I haven't watched season 2. I can't really comment too much on that. But again, it's the same thing we talked about last week, where you read these headlines and you're just like, okay. I already didn't care for a Peggy Carter Captain America in What If Season 1. Definitely will not care about it in What If Season 2. 1,000% don't care if she's in Avengers Doomsday. I just don't gravitate towards that character. Yeah, it can be cool. I mean, yeah, it'll be interesting to see why she's there. Again, it's the Chris Evans thing. Why? It'll be cool to see why they're there. Am I necessarily excited for it? Not really. And if that thing, whatever that was in season 2, is in this movie, you can officially catch me at every DC premiere from now on and not at a single Marvel premiere. All right? I'll just leave it at
that. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I do not care about. I mean, I like Haley Atwell. She's a good actress. She's good in the newest Mission Impossible movie, and I'm sure she's going to be good in the next one as well. But as for her character in the MCU, talk about drawn out, man. Talk about drawn out. Like, it is insane, dude. I don't dislike Captain Carter. I want to say I'm not a hater of her like everybody else is. And they're not even saying that she's playing Captain Carter in Doomsday. I don't know. She's just playing Peggy Carter. So I don't know what role Peggy Carter needs to have in Doomsday. But, I mean, all right, I guess cool enough, man. Whatever. I don't man, it pains me so much, dude. Like, all I'm living for right now is, when it comes to MCU stuff, is obviously I'm looking forward to Cap coming out soon, and I'm interested in Thunderbolts, but honestly, the level has died down for me. And Fantastic Four. I need some Fantastic Four stuff in my life, bro. Yes. That's what I'm most excited for right now. Everything I'm hearing about Doomsday, oh my God, bro. It's just, other than the fact that the Russos are back, everything's just putting me down. I don't care. I don't care, man. I'm sorry. Just I think I've officially, because I remember we've had conversations about what we've been more excited for, like the start of DC's new thing with Superman, or not the start, but the, I don't know, climax of whatever the MCU is doing right now. And previously, in conversations we've had about that, I think I said I was more excited about, like, at the time when we were talking about it, I was probably still Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. I think I flipped though, man, especially after this trailer today. Oh my gosh. I am so much I'm infinitely more excited. Even like Supergirl. Dude, I am so excited for what Millie Alcox, is that her name? Playing Supergirl? Like,
oh man,
dude, I am so excited for the prospect of that and what that can be. And then I look over at Doomsday and how they're just grasping at so many different straws, with Chris Evans coming back, Peggy fucking Carter coming back for some reason. Like, dude, get a grip, brother. Get a grip. That's all I gotta say, man. Like, yeah, I've never thought I'd come to you'd see me like hating on the MCU for just simple announcements like this, but like,
And it's
This does
also
nothing.
like,
It
dude,
does nothing for me.
you have so much groundwork that you have to do to make that make sense. Like, and where is that? You're telling me it's going to be in Fantastic Four? Please keep it far the fuck away from Fantastic Four. Like, and you can't put it in Cap or in Thunderbolts. Like, and I know that they announced that there will be a movie slated before, which I don't know if I don't think we have that in there, but that there will be a movie now before Doomsday. I think in February 2025, 2026. Sorry. And it's like, okay, yeah, I mean that could be Doctor Strange, but then again with the news, sorry to jump ahead, of Black Panther 3 moving forward, it's probably going to be that. It's just, and if it is Doctor Strange, where it would make more sense to tell a multiversal story, it's just like you're just gonna convolute one of these projects. It's just gonna be a convoluted mess in order to make your future movies make more sense, so that you, for the sake of cameos and throwing all these big characters up there. Where is the reasoning? Where is the balance of making these cameos? And maybe that's the reason why we hear these announcements and we're just like, oh gosh, great. It's like, it's not, oh crap, this could be sick. It's, oh god, more stuff to compensate for in these projects that should be left alone, and just a good story told, and then feed it into your next project or whatever. Give them a reason to show up in the future, and that's it. And that's not what it is. That's not what it has been. Instead, you're spending time and money on Agatha season 1 and season 2. Are we kidding? Whatever.
Moving swiftly along, the next thing that was, I guess, revealed was that Chris Evans was originally supposed to return as Captain America in a new standalone film with Haley Atwell, but a story couldn't be nailed down. This is assumed to be a story of Steve Rogers going back in time to return the stones. Basically, what did Cap go through at the end of Avengers Endgame? Which is a film that I think a lot of people wanted when Endgame first happened. They're like, give us like a mini series with like, each of the stones getting returned or something like that, which I think would have been really cool. And I think the idea of this would be really good. I think they're a little past the time where this would have been relevant, kind of like Black Widow was, released at a really bad time in comparison to where her story was. So I think this could have done a lot better if it was a film that came out a couple of years ago. But the more shocking thing is that they couldn't nail down a story on this. The story literally writes itself for this. Like, you do not have to do a lot of work in order to make this happen. So that's more just concerning. I mean, I don't know if it's concerning for Marvel because we already know that they've like done a really bad job with writing their movies and planning how everything comes together. So maybe it's just what we should expect from them. But like, that just seems, that's shocking that would be the case. At least to me, that I just don't even see how could it be that bad at Marvel that they can't come up with this story?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I want to clarify the difference here with like how we are all just complaining about Peggy Carter coming back. It's just the fact that it's Doomsday. Like, Doomsday seems like such a monumental film for the MCU where you like, this is a bounce back point for you guys. And like the choices they seem to be making, not great. But if we were talking about this film, if this film was still being made, whatever this was supposed to be, Peggy coming back for this absolutely makes sense. I mean, that's the entire, we see Steve staying behind for a little moment in Endgame with her. And so like that would make absolute sense to see her come back for something like this. And this is something that I like, it felt like a no-brainer cash grab kind of idea that they could have done. Not cash grab. I don't want to reduce it to that, but it could have been interesting, and they just, for whatever reason, couldn't nail down that story, as Benjamin mentioned. And it's just, I don't know, man. Like, I do, as you were just saying, also, like, it's very telling about the current state of things at the MCU that they can't lock something like that down. Like, that's worrisome to say the least. I don't know. Would have been cool to see this film. I also wouldn't have minded it as a TV show, but it's never gonna get it now. And I hope that that's not what this is gonna be in Doomsday. Is like ripping Steve from that part. Like while he's putting
Oh
the
my
stones
God.
back, they go and like rip him away from doing
No,
that
don't even
and pull
say
him
that.
into like Doomsday for whatever, you know? Like I could that's what makes sense to me. Like Peggy's like, but Steve, we were just dancing together, and Steve's like, no, I gotta
No,
do
no,
this,
no,
babe.
no,
I'm
no, no,
sorry,
no, no,
bro.
no, no. Stop, stop. I'm cringing. I'm cringing. Wasn't there were reports that he was going to be playing Nomad in Doomsday?
Oh yeah. That's true. That's true.
So rest
But
assured.
also, he wasn't like named Nomad, but he was kind of Nomad in Infinity War. So like,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I will admit, whenever I scoffed at this before we started recording, and you were like, "Oh," I thought, I thought their plans were to have a standalone Cap movie with him and Peggy Carter as Cap, and I was like, "Oh God." Like, yes, thank God a story didn't get fucking nailed down. Thank God that didn't happen. But as I was reading it before we got to it, I was like, oh, a film with Haley Atwell. Yeah, that could easily just be like, a throwback or putting the stones back, whatever. Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like I was never really. I remember like everyone being like, "Oh my gosh, like we need to see what happened when Cat put the stones back." I never really cared too much. I always kind of like saw those like fan theories or like those wants from the fans, and I was just always kind of like, I don't I don't really care if we get that or not. And especially if they were to do it now, if they did get a story down and that was it, I'd be like, okay, yeah, this is cool, but again, it's the Black Widow thing. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe at this point in time they had more of a story set in place, and so they were like, "Oh yeah, but this doesn't really fit into what we have planned for the future. Like bringing Cat back right now feels too early. We'll save it for down the line." Because at least I would like to hope that after Endgame, whenever we started up the King stuff, they had something set in place that was going to make sense and that was going to be concise and that would probably not even hold a candle to, but would at least rival what they did phases 1 through 4 or phases 1 through 3. Yeah, phases 1 through 3. Oh my god, I don't know. Up until Endgame. But like I said, I would like to hope that they had something set in place to where that didn't really fit, and so they couldn't nail a story down. Whereas now they probably, obviously, if they're bringing Peggy Carter in for Doomsday, wouldn't care to tell a story like that because it's nostalgia and it brings the old fans back, and we're still alive. We still have hope. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Marvel is just in, as we'll get to with this next piece of news. Holy God, Marvel's they're definitely in a spot right now.
Yeah, can we get the What If season 3 episode titles, the image pulled up just so we can look at this?
Dude, I was so mad. Oh my God,
Well-
I was talking to Brandon about this and I was getting so angry.
While you're doing that, I've been continuing to watch season 2 of What If. And Charlie, something you asked me is like if I think that the stories in season 2 feel more realistic than those in season 1. And as I've continued watching, the answer's just been no. Like the episode with Tony
More so than
Stark,
season one is what I meant. If I didn't make that clear, but still, I still don't don't agree with it, but I just wanted to hear
Okay.
your take.
Yeah. At this point, no, I don't even know how to compare the two really. Like the Tony Stark episode is when I watched that, I was like, this is insane in my opinion. Like everything that happened in that. So the portal closed in New York, and then Tony Stark flies all the way out to what's the planet even called?
Um, Sakar.
Yeah. So he floats like through the multiverse, through space and time, all the way to Sakaar, and then races the Grandmaster. Like, anyways, I just had to bring that up because you had asked me that before, and then I think that was literally like the next episode that I watched. I'm like, what are we doing here? Okay,
Okay, can we go through these one by
so
one? Like, just name it, we'll talk about it, and then go to the next one.
we can, sure.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do that.
So episode 1 of What If season 3 is titled "What If the Hulk Fought the Mech Avengers."
Oh, buddy, I can't wait to get into this. What type of kitty fucking PG fucking let's appeal to our youngest audience so that we can get some easy views for Saturday morning cartoons while the baby eats breakfast type of shit is this? What kind of power, like, oh, dude, just every time I think about that shot in the trailer, I want to gouge my eyes out. Why is this the direction you're going? You're wasting money and time on this as a fucking episode. Oh my god, don't even get me started on the second one. But like, oh gosh, man, like the Mech Avengers, come on.
Yeah, man, this is exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like, this is just like you're doing, like, sure, okay, it's imaginative, it's creative, I guess, but not in this. It's just not in the way that like What If should be. It's just like it's imaginative in the sense that this is just so far out there. I have no important sort of care about this sort of story whatsoever. Only one on this list is that true for me, and we'll get to that. But yeah, this is just. What if the Hulk fought the Mech Avengers? I don't know. One of them would win, man. That's probably what if. That's probably what would happen. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude.
I think I'll just say this about the whole list, but like they for some reason decided to say that season 3 was going to be the final one and that, they're done after this, whatever. But looking at this list, literally go down the line and it's like, why does this have to be the final season when a majority of these are things that like I don't think most people care about in the slightest? The Hulk fighting the Mech Avengers being one of them. Like, okay, so we're gonna watch a little Pacific Rim episode, and someone's gonna win, someone's gonna get beat up. Who cares? Like, I don't even know from a creative standpoint if you are writing for Marvel's What If, how possibly is this something that you land on and you're like, oh yeah, we got to make that episode. I can't fathom being on that creative team and thinking that that's okay. It's crazy. I don't get it.
And
Yeah.
then you just go to the next one, and it's the same sort of story. Agatha went to Hollywood. What if Agatha went to Hollywood? I don't care. What if Agatha went to Hollywood? What? This is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. These are comic book characters, brother. Why are we like... I don't care if a witch went to go act in a movie. Like, I don't even want to talk about that one, bro. We're not talking about that one.
That is the worst one on the list, to be honest.
Oh my god.
That is... I am so glad they're releasing these daily, bro, because like if this was week to week, you got
Oh my god, is
even
this
daily. I might
is this
not
like
even
coming
watch the whole
up?
thing.
Is this like this Sunday?
This is
Yeah.
like Monday.
Oh
Yeah, it starts on
shit! it. Oh my god, I can't
For
wait
Sunday,
to
yeah.
grill
Sunday.
these episodes. I can't wait to just lay into them.
We'll get
Oh
to
my
talk
God.
about like half of them next week and then the other half the week after.
Wow, I just realized that. Okay, continue.
What if the Red Guardian stopped the Winter Soldier? Then the Winter Soldier would be stopped. What do you like? What, I don't. Holy shit!
Well,
Just
what is he
even just like
the,
picking Red Guardian is like
yeah.
we barely know Red Guardian.
Yeah.
People do not
It's
care
such
about this.
it's such a safe pick, and that's the thing. It's such a safe pick, dude. Yes, this character that we've seen twice so far, and it's just like, oh yeah, they were alive at the same time. Like I don't know, dude. But what's interesting, like, what if he stopped him doing what? Like, what if he stopped Hydra taking control of him? Not that it really changes.
Oh, that's
anything.
actually that's probably what it is because the Red Guardian was
Well-
was that's when he was like around and
'Cause-
active, right? Was in like the
Well, because I was gonna
80s
say.
or something like that. He'll probably come into contact with Winter Soldier while he's on a Hydra mission.
Well, because I was gonna say if he stopped him from killing Tony's parents, like okay, maybe, like, but then again, it's like I'd be more interested in the ramifications of that. So at that point, just be like, what if the Winter Soldier never killed Tony's parents, and then it just so happens to be Red Guardian? But it's like, what if the Red Guardian stopped the Winter Soldier? Okay, he's just gonna go in there and fucking quip his ass off, and then stop Hydra from taking over, and then everything's happy and dandy. Okay, next episode, like. Whatever.
That's a really good point, actually. Like that would be a much more interesting prompt, and then you can still use the Red Guardian to, if that's what this episode's about. But this next one is probably the second worst one, if not also the worst. It's definitely in contention between Agatha and this one. What if Howard the Duck got hitched? I don't give a fuck who Howard the Duck is fucking. I don't care, dude. I do not care in the slightest. What are we? Oh my fuck. Like, to go from Marvel Animation, to go from X-Men 97, bro. To go from X-Men 97 and then we're getting shit like this. Fuck off. And that one's on Christmas too, bro. That one's on Christmas. What the fuck?
I actually
Oh
I
my
had
God.
I had talked to Brandon about this one, and he told me, which I didn't know. He told me Howard the Duck is was like a really famous character before Marvel even got like big. He was he wasn't like Deadpool, but he was a famous like with the adults, you know, like he was like he played into the adult sense of humor, whatever. And so he said that was probably more so for like to get the adult watchers in, where it's like, oh, you have the kids watching Hulk fight a mech Avengers, well then the adults can watch Howard the Duck. Regardless, fucking regardless, point still stands. This next one though, okay, now we're cooking a little bit.
Yeah, this is the only one that I'm like, well, not the only one. I'm also somewhat intrigued by the last one, just because it's like, we don't know. But this one, what if the emergence destroyed the Earth? Obviously, I'm a big Eternals fan. And so to see what, as Aiden mentioned with the Red Guardian one, what the ramifications of the emergence actually successfully happening, seeing what happens afterward is an interesting concept, and this is what I want more of. I wanted more of because this is the last season out of this fucking show, but apparently I don't even know what they are, just thick-headed to put that kind of stuff together. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. This is the only one that's semi-interesting. For like a true like actual concept where we know how they're gonna approach it or what to expect. This is I do like this one.
This next one, oh sorry if you were
No, I was just gonna go to the next one too.
I actually looked up like if the year 1872 was important to the Marvel comics, and I got a synopsis for a run called Marvel 1872, I believe. It's part of Secret Wars in 2015. The synopsis goes, In the town of Timely in the Valley of Doom, Red Wolf attempted to blow up Mayor Fisk's dam. Oh, wait, that's the synopsis for the first chapter. That is not what I read earlier. Let me find what I read earlier. But what's interesting is that it takes place in one during Secret Wars and two in a town called Timely, which the only Timely we know in the MCU is Victor Timely. But anyways, in the Battle World Zone of 1872, Sheriff Steve Rogers faces corruption and what? What?
The only time in the MCU is Victor Timely.
Oh, shut up. I thought it was, I mean, I'm drawing comparisons here, man. All right. In the Battle World Zone of 1872, Sheriff Steve Rogers faces corruption and fear in the boomtown of Timely. Can Tony Stark pull Rogers' fat from the fire? Probably not, since the only thing he seems capable of pulling is a cork from a bottle. Things in Timely are bad and getting worse, and when a stranger arrives into town, Timely could be changed forever. For anyone left standing when the dust clears, that is, it's a dead man's hand composed of Bullseye, Electro, Grizzly, Doc Ock, and ringleader Wilson Fisk. But what concoction is the timid Dr. Banner cooking up in his apothecary? Will justice stand tall at high noon or die in the street? So yeah, that's all 1872 says from the Marvel Comics. But it takes place during Secret Wars, which we know is coming up, and it references Timely, which we know is Victor Timely in the MCU Earth 616. But yeah, so I don't know. Maybe I don't know, dude. I just don't know.
To me, it just seemed. Did you watch the time travel one in season 2 yet, Ben?
I
guess
don't
it's full
think
time travel one.
so. I don't think so.
Basically, I think it's Peggy or Wanda or something. I think it's Peggy. Goes back to like 1602, and it's like medieval times or something like that, with or Renaissance time with Cap and Bucky and everybody there. Yada yada yada. But it kind of seems like it's just another one of those kind of episodes. Obviously, I think that one was like 1602. This one isn't going to go back that far, so it'll be a little bit different time period, but it's not the same kind of concept. So whatever. Still can't really care.
Even if it did like tie into Secret Wars somehow or follow some sort of comic along the same lines, it's a 20-minute animated episode in the What If series. So
Yeah. I mean,
to me, this means like nothing at this point.
the thing to me is like, okay, it's better than Agatha Went to Hollywood. You know, like they could have easily done like Party Thor episode right there. So it's like, please at least give us something cool worth our time, dude. And so, but I highly, highly doubt that that's what that episode will be.
Yeah.
I am excited for what if the Watcher disappeared, because we know the answer. That means that this show can end.
Yeah, yes.
We can be done asking
you scared
these
me.
questions.
You scared me there. I was gonna say, what if the Watcher disappeared? Then he disappears. Holy, who would have thought?
No. To be fair, actually, the last 2 episodes, I am interested if this is going to be the final season, what that's going to look like. I think they'll do something kind of tied together, like, you know, the Watcher disappearing into whatever the finale is. I'm kind of lumping those together. And I didn't hate some of the stuff that they did towards the end of season 1 with the Watcher, and more like the big picture grand concepts of how all of that works and whatnot, and having the Watcher be more of like an actual character rather than a mean of storytelling, which is what it felt like towards the beginning of season 1. So I'm semi interested in like, okay, if there is an end, then what is the end? And what does that actually look like for a show like this? How can you have a hard stop when it feels like something that could just go on forever?
Yeah. And I also we haven't talked about it yet, but it was I think one of the executive producers or something on the show uh, talked about why this show specifically needs to end now, and that it's going to make sense later on with uh, Doomsday and Secret Wars and everything that's happening in the MCU. Let's be honest, no, it's not. No, it's not, dude. The way that this is going to make sense, it's going to be some stupid like, oh, because the multiverse was destroyed or some dumb thing that is just convoluted in some way that isn't actually going to reference any sort of thing in the what if canonicity. It just I don't know. I'm fine that it's ending because clearly they can't branch out and have actual interesting ideas. So, but just don't try to say that it needs to end now for the story. No, it doesn't. You don't care about the story. Clearly you don't. Agatha went to Hollywood. And the last episode, what if? What if? Can't really talk about that one. We don't know what that entails, but it sounds intriguing. So I'll be there. I'll be sad, but
I'll be standing, clapping.
Yeah. Jeez Louise, man.
All right, can we
Sad times
like
we're in.
Holy God, what are you showing me?
get that off my
Come
screen.
on.
Moving on to the Nova series, which is moving forward with the showrunner from Criminal Minds. I feel like this series was announced quite a while ago, and I feel like I'd be beating a dead horse here. There's so many projects that have been announced, so many projects in the works, and just all of the same concerns that we have about everything else going on, how they're picking and choosing which projects to prioritize and make and whatnot. All of those things are still of concern here. So like, I'll check it out. I'll give it a fair shot. It's not something that I have like huge interest in just because I'm not too familiar with the character of Nova, but it's just like everything else that we've been saying. Their priorities seem all jumbled, and this doesn't really excite me because I don't feel like they're on the right track right now.
yeah. I'm excited. I like Nova, as long as it's not the teenager Nova, Alexander something, which I don't think it is going to be. I think there were leaks talking about how this is going to be Richard Rider. So I like the character of Nova, and I'm interested in seeing this. I'm excited for it somewhat, but yeah, still, it seems like they have no idea what they're doing with this larger universe kind of thing. And maybe they're trying to take more steps towards like what James Gunn is doing with the DCU, just separate projects and not really having them all connect to each other. But I feel like you need to make that clear then, because we're still all very much under the assumption of everything is tied together and everything means something for another project. So to have sidelines like Nova coming out at the same time as something like Doomsday or in between Doomsday and Secret Wars, it almost feels like a Captain Marvel scenario, which sure, Captain Marvel made a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things, dropping that in between Infinity War and Endgame just so you could shoehorn her into Endgame, story-wise didn't work too well, but we accepted it because it was the great days of the MCU.
Yeah, maybe a couple years ago I'd been more excited about this, but it just is what it is.
Yeah, it's definitely a big shift right now. I think we're all feeling that, where basically every announcement for Marvel, we're all just hesitant, not super excited because they're on such a bad track right now. And everything for DC, we're like, I'll be there. I'll give it a shot. I'm excited because it's new, it's fresh. It seems like they're actually putting love and care that Marvel has just been kind of lacking in recent years. The final thing specifically for the MCU is that Black Panther 3 is moving forward, which was kind of semi-confirmed by Denzel Washington in a recent, I think it was in an interview where he kind of leaked that he was in talks to play in the movie and work with Ryan Coogler, which also basically confirms that Ryan Coogler is coming back to direct the film. I think we all knew that there would be another Black Panther movie at some point. But same kind of a thing of, you know, just with the grander scheme of the MCU, how does this fit in with where we're at? Or even, it's probably going to be post Secret Wars, and, what is their next big storyline that they're telling, and how does Black Panther 3 fit into that as well? So I would say I'm more neutral on this just because I really like Ryan Coogler as a filmmaker, and I am a big fan of the first Black Panther. I think Wakanda Forever is one of the better projects specifically for movies in the last few years. I liked Wakanda Forever a decent amount, and Ryan Coogler was also responsible for the first Creed movie, maybe even the second one as well. So I just like Ryan Coogler as a filmmaker, and I think he does have a lot of care for this franchise. So this is one that I would have a little bit more optimism for, but still kind of questioning just bigger picture how it fits into the MCU and where things are at. It's hard not to be a little bit skeptical of basically everything that they announce.
And I can agree for sure. I'm excited to see like what direction this goes in. Like if there's a time jump, and T'Challa's son, T'Challa, is therefore going to be taking over the Black Panther mantle, which would be kind of crazy. I mean, I know that's what they're setting up for. Just because there's more stories, there's more T'Challa stories to tell that unfortunately they didn't get to tell with Chadwick Boseman. But I'd be interested to see if they are trying to rush into that and have the new T'Challa come up into his own and become the new Black Panther, or if it's going to be another like Shuri-centered story with her as Black Panther still. And also potentially maybe a check-in with Namor. I'm interested to see how he comes back, because I don't see how he would much fit into this whole multiverse stuff coming up, I guess to protect his people. But I don't know, just more. I have more questions of what they do with certain characters and whatnot in terms of this third movie. So, and where Denzel Washington's going to fit in, I guess. But I think it's cool, sure, but I'm not, not over the moon for it because, again, the priorities just seem to be all over the place.
Could be a cool spot to bring in a Doom, maybe, right? If this is before Doomsday, which I'm just assuming it is, because we've gotten more news on this than we have on Doctor Strange. But again, I mean, that's just me assuming. So, yeah, man. Cool. Cool.
Okay, moving on to some more news regarding Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. We had two things that were announced. The first was confirming that the movie won't release in 2025, that they're putting a lot of tender, loving care into the film. We basically already knew this. I think we talked about it in recent weeks, just that, it's definitely not happening next year and they're going to take their time with it. And we're kind of accepting that reality in the hopes that they release something that is up to the quality that I think all of us are expecting from this film. And then the other thing that was announced paired alongside it is that the directors are confirmed to be Bob Persichetti, I think is how it's pronounced, and Justin K. Thompson. I recognize Justin K. Thompson. Have they worked on the previous films?
Well,
I think
from what I've seen,
maybe the first one, not the second one. I don't think.
Justin K. Thompson directed Across the Spider-Verse, and then Bob Persichetti directed Into the Spider-Verse. So it's
I thought there
basically
were
the
co-directors
director.
on this on Cross as well. Was it not?
It's not popping up
Or am I tripping?
for Bob Persichetti.
Well, I don't know if Bob was. I just thought there were two directors on Across the Spider-Verse. I don't know.
Across the Spider-Verse was Joaquim Dos Santos, Kemp Powers, and Justin K. Thompson.
Okay, yeah.
So three. Okay, three directors.
Yeah,
That's
so
right. That's
Justin
right.
K.
Was part of it.
Thompson
Okay.
So
was a part of it.
yeah, and then Into had 3 directors, but the other 2 were different ones than Across. So all in all, 6 different directors that tie to both movies, and then now they're bringing in basically, I guess, the best of the the best 2
One
of the
from
bunch.
each, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Interesting.
think just the fact that you have, you know,
A through line.
someone who worked on each film,
Yeah.
pairing them up, multiple directors clearly has worked well for them in the past. So, I see this as a good thing. They clearly understand the assignment. There's kind of 2 trains of thought. There's one, there is zero reason that they should mess this up. I have a lot of confidence in them. And then the second train of thought is, if they mess this up, this will turn out to be one of the most disappointing superhero movies of all time. I think people understand that with where the trilogy is, it's setting up to be literally one of the best trilogies of all time, and I think easily the best superhero trilogy of all time. So if this does not land, then I seriously think this will go down as historically one of the biggest fumbles in filmmaking. And I'm not even trying to like exaggerate that. I genuinely think there is that much riding on this movie.
Yep. I agree. But now that I know that both of these directors have worked on past film, the past 2 separately, but now coming together for this, I think that that gives me a lot more hope, and I love that they're giving the tender, loving care to the project, because that's what it needs, and I think that they know that, because I think that they feel the same way. Truthfully, I think they feel that pressure. I feel like there's no way that they cannot feel that pressure. And I hope that they apply that to the work. And it sucks we're not getting it this coming year, sure, but I mean, I'm more than happy to wait for it to be fantastic, because I just rewatched Across, man. Oh my gosh,
It's so
it is
good,
fantastic,
man.
dude.
It's
It is so good.
It's
It
like
is so damn good.
It's like even better on rewatch. Like, gosh,
It
it
is,
holds
man.
up so well. Like the soundtrack. I remember we watched it in the car on our way to Tennessee back in August. Me and my fiance. It was her first time ever seeing it. I remember when we first started dating. Into the Spider-Verse had just released on Netflix, and I told her this is back whenever she would do or watch anything because she was so head over heels for me. And so I was like, you need to watch Into the Spider-Verse. Like, that movie is fantastic. And she was like, oh my gosh, okay, I'll watch it. If I told her to watch a superhero movie on her own now, she would just look at me and be like, really? I'm not doing that. Like you should know me by now. And so I told her, I was like, you need to watch Into the Spider-Verse. And so she watched it and she was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I really like that. And then I forgot why. Oh, I think she was out of the country whenever we went to go see Across. So we watched it on our way up there. I was like, I want to rewatch it, and then you can see it for the first time. And like every scene with Miles and his mom, dude, I was tearing up, and I was like, oh, this hits so much harder. Like, what is going on? Like, the soundtrack, all the music. I literally played her the whole soundtrack afterwards, bro. I was like, I just need to live in this a little bit longer. It's so good.
Yeah. With that being said, I think that is it for news. Unless, Charlie, did you have anything that Aiden left out? Anything else you wanted to touch on?
I took a look earlier, and I don't think so. There's nothing. I mean, we could talk about that executive producer, but it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
I put Sonic 4 in there in case you guys wanted to talk about it. I'm not the biggest Sonic guy.
I mean,
Cool, thumbs up. I'm looking
Sonic
forward
4
to
is
it.
in the works. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you guys want to know, Sonic 4 is in the works.
I am a bit sad that they I will just the one thing I'll say. Every time they announce it, the time between releases has gotten more spread out.
Yeah, bigger and
So
bigger. Yeah.
it was like less than 2 years, and then it was more than 2 years, and now it's like I think it's like 2.5 years or something until Sonic 4. So that part is a little sad. And I am looking forward to watching Sonic 3. I don't even know when I'm watching it. It might be tomorrow. I don't know.
I'm going
But I'm very
Saturday.
excited. I've heard amazing things about it.
I can't wait. Oh, I can't wait.
I don't know if you've been seeing that, Charlie, but like it's been getting very good reviews. And that's not even like I'm not even trying to just say that to like, take Aiden's side and defend it, but it's apparently the best in the trilogy, which if it is, I'll be very happy.
Okay.
That's
I
insane.
need
that's-
to rewatch
that's, like,
Sonic
serious.
1, and then I still haven't seen Sonic 2, so
Sonic
might
2
watch
I had
the
a lot
Animals
of
tonight.
fun with. I think Sonic 2 was great.
I think the only downside to them is that like you can clearly tell there's an element of them that was made for a younger audience with some of the comedy.
Yeah.
That is a big downfall, I would say, of those films is there's scenes that you just kind of have to try to set aside your cringe and get through. But for video game movies, I think this is setting up to be a really good video game franchise, even if it has, some of those shortcomings. But
So insane they're saying this is the best in the
anyways,
trilogy. Like, that is so awesome, dude. Oh my god.
yeah, I'm very excited. So moving on, the last thing that we have to discuss is Creature Commandos Episode 3, titled Cheers to the Tin Man, which is the first time that they're just doing a single episode drop after we got the 2 episodes for the first week. Which I was very interested to see how that would kind of change up the pace of the show. I'll just give some of my brief spoiler-free thoughts first. I liked this episode. I think it might be my favorite of the bunch so far. I haven't seen the fourth one yet, but of the 3 that I've seen, I think it's my favorite. It did a really good job, in my opinion, of progressing the story forward, but then incorporating those flashback sequences to learn more about the Tin Man. I think what they were setting up with him was clear from the very beginning, which was, the idea that he's programmed a certain way. So the leaning into the whole lack of feelings and emotions and whatnot, leaning into that idea, that in a way gives him depth and emotions for us as an audience. Like we can understand what he's going through, even though he has that just like gap in his programming because of the fact that he's a robot. So I was a big fan of just how they tied that into the episode. Um, I'm hoping that, and Charlie, you can shed some light into this. I'm hoping that the way that they approach this episode is not what they're going to repeat every episode, which is kind of like a let's focus on a specific character, flashbacks, learn more about them, bring them back into, where they're at in the current story, and then kind of just get rid of them. I'm hoping that that's not the case. And like, Charlie, you can answer that because you've seen episode 4, and I don't consider that a huge spoiler, just like how they approach the episode. But yeah, I really enjoy it. I will say, I know we talked about G.I. Robot being a little his shtick of, the Nazi killer getting a little bit annoying in the first 2 episodes. I didn't find that to be the case at all in episode 3. It felt a lot more tasteful and not just there to be some sort of comedic relief or shock factor or anything. It felt like it had much more of a purpose and allows you to appreciate his use in the show a little bit more. So definitely my favorite episode so far. The show is still not blowing me away though. I'm having a good time every week. I'm enjoying it, but it's I don't think it's a huge standout in comparison to James Gunn's other projects. At least not at this point for me personally.
I'll go second, just because I know Charlie, you've seen the fourth episode. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this episode. Definitely my favorite. I am definitely more engaged. I'm more hopeful for its potential after this one. I thought it was really cool. I loved his backstory, even if it really didn't further the plot too much. Like, I'm willing to put that aside to just kind of live in the universe for a little bit, especially with how gruesome they're getting, how, like, out of hand everything is. I do appreciate that a lot. Reminds me of, like, Invincible a little bit, those early days of Invincible when it first came out, and how, like, nobody had ever seen anything as crazy as it. And I loved everything with his, like, little backstory. It's not, like, emotional, like, I guess the end little bit is, but, like, it's not emotional. It's just literally like, yeah, here's this dude that can just spot out Nazis. So whenever he's at the party and he's like, oh yeah, all these people here are Nazis, like, did you not check their ID? And then, like, going to that party where he's like, okay, this is fun, and then they just drop down the Nazi symbol and he just goes ham on all of them. Like, that was so sick. I thought that was so cool. I just got a lot of satisfaction out of seeing that happen. And then even the bit at the end where they kind of start to. I mean, the episode's almost 2 weeks or almost a week, actually exactly a week out. When they just absolutely pounce down on their first mission. Just super cool to see them start to kind of come together a bit. So that's why I'm more engaged now, because I'm like, okay, cool. You're starting to play around a little bit more with the, like, backstories every now and then are cool, like, for people that need them, which I feel like this one was warranted, especially whenever he says, yes, they're all Nazis. And then he just goes hand. Like, I think that's, like, it's cool. You're playing into the shtick. You're giving him a needed backstory for the episode. Again, you probably don't need it for everybody, which is what Ben was saying. But for those that you can flesh out a little bit if you have the time to further those connections between themselves, like depending on each other in battle and helping helping the others attack whenever it's needed. I think it's really cool, and so I like this one a lot more. It's kind of reeled me in a bit. I'm not as harsh as I was on it last week anymore. I think it's promising. I think it has the potential to be really, really cool. I heard this. Oh no, I didn't hear it. I saw James Gunn actually, which I thought was really cool of him, say that he tweeted and he said, what did he say? He was like, "Don't let the Superman trailer coming out today take away from episode 4 of Creature Commandos also coming out, because this was one of my favorite episodes in the show." And so I was like, okay, that's really cool. And now I'm more excited to watch episode 4, which, Charlie, I'm sure you can tease for us. But yeah, great episode. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Before you go, Charlie, there were also early reports for people who watched the entire show that said that episodes 4 and 6 were, their favorites of the entire series. So I also want to know, just like, since you've seen it, if episode 4 is going to be the peak of the show, or one of the peaks of the show, just, does it live up to that standard?
Yeah. Episode 4. I'll just talk about a little bit. I won't talk too much because we're gonna talk about it next
Talk
week as
to
well. And never mind, I'm not gonna talk about episode 4 anymore.
Oh my god. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
It is a really good episode, I would say. I don't think it's the peak of the potential of the show. I think there's more to go with that. But it is really well done, and I think it is my favorite so far. Yes. As for the structure, yes, that does seem to be the running structure, I guess. Focusing on one character throughout the episode, with their flashbacks, but then also furthering the story in the current timeline, whatever. With the I don't want to like delve too much into. You added a part in what you said, Ben. With them like dying at the end, I will say that seems to be the exception. Like that doesn't always seem to be the rule. Like looking at like the Bride episode, like we thought she died, but she didn't die. But then like GI Robot did in this episode. Spoilers, I guess. It's a
Oh
week away. It's been a
damn.
week past, but
Oh, I thought you were saying he's officially
In 3,
dead.
yeah.
Because I was like, oh no, I thought there was a chance he'd come back, but never mind.
No, he's a robot. He's not dead.
Yeah, that's what
I mean, no comment on that. I'm not going to talk about episode 4, but I'm just talking about leaving off on episode 3 what we think with G being dead. But and then I that doesn't seem to be a constant rule, is what I'm trying to say. Going into episode 4, but that's all I'll really say about episode 4. Really good episode. I did my favorite so far. I enjoyed it. But before that, episode 3 was my favorite episode, and I know I was harping on GI Robot a lot last week, and as Ben mentioned in the Nazi thing, but I 100% agree. I think that this episode was not bad in that regard whatsoever. I think that it was done very tastefully, as you put it. I even liked it a lot of the time, like when he was on the on TV with the studio guy, and then the guy's like, "Well, none of us in here are Nazis," and then everyone's like, "That's exactly what a Nazi would say." I thought that was so funny. But yeah, I thought like it was a pretty like, I don't know if tragic is the right way to put it, but just to watch him get like tossed around between multiple different owners, I guess, was kind of like the tragic part of it, with each with like their own goals in mind. And then to see like, oh, maybe he finally found like to look at what that scientist guy asked him what he wanted, right? And he's like, I want to be with the boys again or whatever. And he thought maybe he found like a new group of boys with this Nazi guy that we didn't know was a Nazi guy that found him, and then he has to kill all of them because they're all Nazis. I thought it was cool to see him kind of like blossom a friendship with that sea creature girl. Forget her name. A little bit, but obviously that was kind of short lived. But yeah, and as Ben also put it, I don't think that this was like this doesn't reach the heights of anything that James Gunn has done previously. But I mean, it was good, a very good step direction for sure, and it kept me interested in wanting to check out episode 4. And episode 4, I think, takes it to another step even further and makes me much more interested going forward. But
going forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I really liked the episode, and I think the show is at least telling me that they are putting care into the story and the characters and whatnot. I don't know why, but when I finished episode 3, I thought, why couldn't we have done this with something like Agatha, where, you know, we start off, sure, we get right into the action, but then very early on in the show, it's like, okay, let's take a step back and learn more about our characters and some of their motives and whatnot. And even in just like these 3 short episodes, when you cut back to GI Robot in our current day, and then, you know, Flag going, yeah, these are all Nazis. And like, we all knew that payoff moment was going to happen from the very beginning. You know, when they set up his character to be like, are you a Nazi? To like literally everything. We knew that's where we were going to end up, is that they're going to be like, yep, Nazis, and he's going to go crazy. So I just appreciate the fact that it's like, yeah, we're going to set up a character, and then we're going to get some backstory on this character and see the payoff of what we've been setting up with that character and how he interacts with our story. So you can at least tell, like, even though GI Robot, yeah, doesn't have complex emotions and, you know, isn't going to have crazy depth to his character, they put effort in. you can tell that they do care about everyone in this show. So I'll be interested to see how that's applied as they, continue to focus on more characters. And I wasn't saying, this structure that I wasn't trying to say that, I hope they don't repeat it because that would be necessarily a bad thing. I think to an extent it can work, but I hope that's not, I guess I hope that's not the only thing the show is going to offer where it's like, okay, episode 4 is on Weasel, episode 5, just go down the list and continue on, especially with only 7 episodes in this series. Like episode 4 is more than halfway done.
Yeah.
So I like it, but I'm just hoping that there will be more to this story because ultimately, like, at least from episode 3, with where our actual story is at, it's still, I don't think, is particularly interesting. This whole protect the princess thing, it's not all that enticing. And so if they're going to substitute that and put all their cards into like, oh, but we're going to learn about all of these interesting characters, that can work to an extent, but it can't carry the weight of the entire show, in my opinion. So I'm kind of hoping that there's just like more that will be happening as the overall story progresses through the rest of this series. But still,
Yeah,
very
and
good episode.
I would say that's my critique as well. With as much as I liked episode 4, it is a bit repetitive, this structure. Even though I also feel like, I'm not going to spoil episode 4 or anything, but I do feel like at the same time, episode 4 did a better job of balancing back and forth a bit more, and I think there was slightly more focus on the current day story than there was with this specific character's backstory. And I also will add that I do think episode 4 gets a bit more interesting story wise, as well. If the current storyline is a bit bland for your taste, I do think it gets a bit more interesting. But
Okay, great.
Awesome.
Any final thoughts before we wrap up, gentlemen?
Everyone go
Superman,
go
July
stream the
11th,
Superman trailer.
2025.
Yeah, everyone go watch the Superman trailer.
Go watch the Superman trailer and go watch Aiden H Talks react to the
Reaction,
Superman
yes.
trailer.
Yes, please.
And with that
'cause
being said-
YouTube has bent me over with it.
It's okay. You're about to get a couple more views, Aiden.
Yes.
With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. We had a blast discussing Superman, talking all things DC and Marvel news, and also talking about Creature Commandos. Just a heavily superhero focused week between the news and the different projects and whatnot, which is exciting because there's a lot of exciting things coming down the pipeline, and also a lot of reasons why we are still very hesitant, specifically about the state of the MCU. So it feels that's a conversation that we're going to continue to have until they figure it out and start fixing it, which is the entire hope. But anyways, thank you all so much for tuning in. We appreciate you being here. Remember to leave us a rating on audio listening platforms, leave us a like and comment on YouTube, and also subscribe because we will be here next week. Maybe we'll briefly touch on Craven if any of us watch it. Maybe some Sonic 3. What if Season 3? Who knows? There's lots of stuff coming up. So make sure that you're here as we continue to nerd out about all things movie, television, whatever. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time. Sayonara.
Peace.
Adios.